Now that the Cybertruck has hit the market, these things are getting colored PPF wraps like crazy, and it's no exception here. So Aaron is working on one right behind me. We're changing this from the Cybertruck color to Ultra Fit Phoenix Red. And I gotta tell you, it looks awesome. So it brings up the question that we get all the time. What's the difference? Vinyl wrap versus color change PPF? Are they interchangeable? Are they the same install? I'm gonna tell you all about it right now. There's a couple really big differences between the PPF and the vinyl wrap. One is that color change PPF is still real PPF, which means it's very thick. It has more of like a rubbery consistency than vinyl does, and it really does protect the paint. Vinyl might protect the paint from some things, but vinyl is not going to do much against any type of impact or scratching, whereas PPF will. The other two main differences: the installation is completely different. I cannot take a specialized vinyl wrap employee and put them on a PPF install. The problem with that is that some of those principles need to cross lines. So when you're installing regular clear PPF, you wrap edges where possible, but it's okay to leave an edge a little bit exposed, especially on cars that aren't Cybertrucks, right before the film rolls around, or maybe where a fender would meet the bumper. With color change, you can't do that. If this car is white and you're changing it to Phoenix Red, you have to cover every single square inch. Now with vinyl, no problem. It's thin. It's made to conform to really tight radiuses and curves. You can stretch it around a lot different than you can with PPF. And so I think there's a misconception with consumers that if it can be wrapped with vinyl, it can just as easily be wrapped with PPF. Totally different. And I would say the third main difference is the appearance of PPF versus vinyl. If you're looking specifically at a gloss finish, if you look across here, it looks as good, or I would even say better, than almost every paint on the market. It almost looks as smooth as like a Bentley paint job. Vinyl will not look like that. It's going to be orange peely. It's going to have some texture in the vinyl. That's just the nature of that product. It's got air release channels underneath that really, really thin layer of color. This has no air release. This is a wet install versus a dry install. Some companies are actually mixing the two. They're doing a dry air release install with PPF. From what I understand, it's really, really difficult to install that, but it helps those edges stick better. So there's some nuances that the consumer doesn't exactly know. I think it's important for you to be educated if you're going to go see about changing the color of your car, understanding that PPF is maybe not going to be able to get as good of coverage. Now, let's say you find a shop that has just an absolutely outstanding installer. They exist. Aaron is one of them. He could do a color change on a normal car with PPF, but it's going to be extremely time consuming. And even if he does a perfect job, paint protection film is so thick that where two panels come together, and this is a bad example because it's a Cybertruck, but for instance on this Toyota, where two panels come together right here, even if he's able to get this to wrap the whole way around, or even if we did a full disassembly like we do on a vinyl wrap and wrap around there, the problem is paint protection film is so thick that when you get two pieces of it together, it makes that gap big and it puts pressure on it and they vibrate and it ends up peeling anyhow. So I think paint protection film, colored paint protection film, has its place, but I think you're going to end up with a lot of situations where wrappers tend to overwrap, is what I call it. They try to do things that the film really is pretty limited and can't do, and you're going to end up with stuff that a year from now doesn't look very good if it's a color change PPF wrap. So why would somebody get a PPF color change versus vinyl? PPF is going to be much more expensive. The material is 3 or 4 or 5 times the cost of what a vinyl wrap material is. The labor is more intense than vinyl wrap as well, in my opinion. So why would you do it? Well, the appearance is incredible. So if you do happen to find that 1 in a million installer that can nail it and do a really, really excellent job and knows all the tricks, somebody that's been doing this for 20 years, you're going to get a really, really good end result. The other thing is the longevity. A vinyl wrap in the Pennsylvania climate, if it's kept outside, you'd be lucky to get 2, 3, maybe 4 years out of it. In Florida, probably even less than that because of the way that the sun is. Paint protection film, you're not going to have that problem. I can't remember if UltraFit is 10 years, but most of them are still carrying the same warranty that the clear films do, which is going to be anywhere from 7 to 12 years, depending on the brand. So I'm going to show you guys what that looks like, the difference between the finish. Now, it's going to be hard to get a color that's similar to what we just installed because shifts colors. That's a color shifting PPF. But this is a purple vinyl, and this is KPMF, so this is actually one of the less orange peely films on the market. I can stretch this and tear it. Paint protection film, super thick. Now, still a cool color, still a lot of metal flake, but when you catch the reflection, of the lights or the boxes over there, you're going to notice there's a lot more texture in the vinyl. And again, this is a very high gloss vinyl. KPMF has typically a better finish than 3M or Avery. Avery's the worst. So another question I know you're going to have, because every consumer does, how much should it cost? And this is something that's going to vary across the country, just like everything, just like the price of gas or the price of bread. If you're in Los Angeles, probably going to be a little more expensive than if you're in rural Pennsylvania. But I can give you an idea. PPF should cost a lot more than vinyl. On something like a Cybertruck, you might be able to get a vinyl wrap done. Now, these are super easy. You might be able to get a vinyl wrap done for $2,500 in some parts of the country. We are not that cheap around here, but we also put out really great work. We're going to be more like the $4,000 to $5,000 range with vinyl. And with PPF, this is going to be, should be more like $5,500 to $8,500. With a regular car, if you want to change the color of your car, I would say it's going to be at least $5,000 with vinyl for a good shop. And PPF, you're probably looking at 8, 10, 12, 15. On a G-Wagon, it might be 20. So I know that sounds crazy, but the material's really expensive and it's very challenging to work with. And hopefully this helped educate you a little bit, so when you do go to talk to the shop about changing the color of your car, you have a little bit more ammunition, know the right questions to ask so you can pick what's right for you.